Ecuador, the South American nation nestled between Peru and Colombia, has been overrun by gang violence lately. In tonight's Prime Focus, our Matt Rivers sits down with leaders of some of the most notorious gangs who make it clear as long as the demands for drugs from countries like the United States exist, so will they.
It's a war on drugs. It's gangland street battles. It's an armed group taking over a state TV channel on a live broadcast. It is armed internal conflict. Government against gangster. Amidst an unrelenting flow of drugs and weapons. This is now, and this is Ecuador, a country increasingly consumed by cocaine, desperately trying to claw its way out. A stunningly beautiful country, long known as one of South America's most peaceful. The guidebooks call Ecuador the land of four worlds. Its famed Galapagos Islands, its mountains, its rainforest, and its Pacific coast. But it is that fourth pillar, the coast, that is shattering the peace.
It might not look like it, but this river is a superhighway for cocaine. Hundreds of tons of that product coming through these waters every single year, bound for Europe and the United States. And as a result, that city right there, Guayaquil, Ecuador, is at war. Rival drug gangs fighting between themselves and the government, vying for supremacy in what has become one of the most important hubs in the global cocaine trade.
Ports dot the coastline with easy access to shipping routes to the U.S. and Europe. Throw in weak law enforcement and corruption, and you have a perfect transit point for massive amounts of cocaine produced in Colombia and Peru. The numbers have exploded in recent years. Just look at the busts. Government officials say nearly 200 tons were seized last year alone. A few weeks ago, 22 tons of cocaine were captured by Ecuador's military, worth more than $1 billion. It's one of the largest single cocaine seizures anywhere, ever. Accessing their world is difficult. But if you want to understand more, you have to go to the source.
So right now we're driving in what is one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in all of Guayaquil. And the reason we're doing that is because this gang has invited us into this area to interview some of their senior leadership. They insisted we do it at night, and they insisted we do it in this neighborhood because this is territory that they fully control.
Security is tight. We're told not to record as we arrive.
And so the idea is that he's going to be waiting for us. Let's just put down the camera for now. Mucho gusto. Gracias por ayudar. Vamos a apagar los teléfonos. Sí, okay. Claro que sí. Let's go. Hola. Buenas noches. Buenas noches.
A few minutes later, we're in a nondescript house inside the territory of the Los Tiguerones gang. A leader in the group agrees to talk, flanked by a couple of his men.
En esos días, ustedes están ganando más dinero que nunca, ¿verdad?
En la actualidad.
Están enviando más cocaína que nunca,
sí,
¿verdad?
Sí, en los mismos operativos, estamos hablando hace 15 años. La gente se sorprendía porque encontraban 10 kilos en un operativo. Ahora se encuentra 10 toneladas.
What's changed the game, he says, is working with Mexican drug cartels. The Ecuadorians are the middlemen.
¿Cómo funciona esa relación con los mexicanos?
Sí, con México son dos líneas, las más fuertes, con Sinaloa y con Jalisco. O sea, ellos mandan el armamento, el dinero, con las armas para protegernos, cuidarle la mercancía, y con el dinero compramos en la frontera.
En la frontera colombiana.
Sí, colombiana, sí.
El producto viene de Colombia.
De Colombia.
Es tu trabajo para enviar el producto al norte.
Exactamente.
Los Tiguerones also in a key alliance with Los Choneros, Ecuador's most notorious gang. Once enemies, they now fight together. Led by this man, Adolfo Macias Villama, alias El Fito, who until last month was serving 34 years in prison. But on January 7th, he escaped, instantly becoming the country's most wanted man. The next day, President Daniel Noboa declared a state of emergency.
Acabo de firmar el decreto de estado de excepción para que las Fuerzas Armadas tengan todo el respaldo político y legal en su accionar. Se acabó el tiempo en el que los condenados por narcotráfico, sicariato y el crimen organizado le dictaban al gobierno de turno qué hacer.
Military was deployed to the streets and the prisons. Key power centers for Ecuador's organized crime. And a day later, organized crime responded. An explosion of gang violence rocked the country. Gang members from Los Tiguerones taking over a government-owned TV station. A day of violence, a message to the government. Don't mess with organized crime. These men, part of Los Choneros, El Fito's gang, have become so powerful, they don't even bother to go inside when they show off their guns. The president now calls them terrorists.
El capricho de él es que caigan todos, ¿me entiendes? Nosotros nos sometimos a un gobierno, tanto así que dejamos que ingresen a las cárceles, pero ellos están abusando del poder.
As the war for Guayaquil wages on, the human toll grows higher by the day. Javier knows that cost more than most. A taxi driver, he was targeted by an extortion attempt.
Mensajes, audios, amenazas, extorsión. Querían que yo le pague $500 mensual. Entonces, eso ya me tenía un poco atemorizado. Por ejemplo, fotos de donde yo vivo, el lugar que yo salía, que llevaba a mi trabajo, que salía a mi trabajo. Entonces, eso.
In Ecuador, it's commonplace these days. Criminal groups augmenting drug money with extortion. Businesses, ordinary people, caught in the middle of a conflict they have nothing to do with. One day, after months of not paying, Javier was kidnapped by 4 armed men in broad daylight while waiting at a stoplight.
Yo pensé que sí, que iba a morir. Sí, pensé primero en mi familia. Dios, mi familia, ¿qué hago? Entonces de ahí me llevaron y sacaron el dinero una parte.
They kept him for a full day, forcing his family to give up all $5,000 they had in their savings. Now he has to start from scratch, and it's in between fares, he says, that the memories of his kidnapping come flooding back.
Que yo aquí, casi todos los días lloro. Me da mucho sentimiento porque yo quiero avanzar, quiero seguir adelante. Y como te dije antes, tenía un proyecto de irme, de sacar a mi familia adelante, porque aquí trabajas y te pagan poco.
Pero lloras dentro del coche porque no quieres llorar enfrente de tu esposa.
He and his wife had saved up to try and migrate to the U.S. to escape from the growing violence.
¿Sabes lo que pienso a veces? Como que cerrar los ojos y despertar en otro país donde tenga paz, tranquilidad, salud.
Amazingly, he says he's lucky because he escaped alive. The homicide rate in Guayaquil more than 5 times higher than it was just a few years ago. Violent crime has skyrocketed as gangs compete for a cocaine market worth billions. The president has pledged his fight against organized crime will continue.
Porque el pueblo sufre por la violencia, por la extorsión, la vacuna y la droga, que envenena y mata a nuestros hijos.
But the state of emergency is set to end in a few weeks. And to those pushing the drugs, the fight is just beginning.
Esto es una bomba de tiempo. Ellos ya jugaron su carta, ahora falta a nosotros.
Somewhat ominous message there. Thanks to Matt Rivers for that.